Welcome to another episode of How I'm Building This, where we interview startup founders in the thick of building their businesses. We learn from their mistakes and get practical tips on overcoming challenges. Today we have Nayrhit from Gush. What's up, Nayrhit? How are you today?
Good. Thanks for hosting this, Prateek. This seems to be very interesting and very excited to be on this podcast as well.
Appreciate it. Thanks so much. This is like a little personal for me, Nayrhit. I've been a very, very happy customer of yours for the last couple of months. I
Thank you
think
so much.
we connected on LinkedIn maybe last year, and it's just been
Yeah,
so interesting to to just witness your journey, not only as your customer but also as someone from the outside, just seeing how you all have been building the business. So again, thanks so much. I'm really excited, of course, jump into it.
Definitely, Prateek, and thank you so much for hosting me and being our customer as well. We learned a lot from you about sales and how to hire fractional sales, etc. So thanks for being a big champion as well as a big advisor for us as well.
Of course, Darren. So before we
Sure.
of course jump into the business, I'd love to learn who's Nayrhit, where did you grow up, and what really got you into entrepreneurship.
Good question. Like I'll try to keep it short as much as possible. But basically, I grew up in Mumbai and spent went for my undergrad to IIT Kharagpur. Graduated in 2016. Was in a deadbeat corporate job in Amex for the for the first couple of years, and then I joined this venture capital fund called IDG Ventures India, and then that's when things started to look interesting. Like where actually I started getting like a sense of startups. The first 6 months was very humbling. I would meet like 7, 8 entrepreneurs every single day, and be completely flustered with all the metrics that was thrown at me, like MRRs, retentions, MAUs, DAOs, etc. And when you're suddenly as a VC, you're dabbling around with consumer spaces along with marketplaces, and you have like a B2B company coming down in the evening. So it's quite vertical that way, and it was like a very humbling experience because every entrepreneur is really good. You have to figure out like who's going to build the next $1 billion company and who's not. So you get a lot of understanding of like what it takes to build or what scales, what doesn't scale, etc. But spent about 2 years there. But then I moved to an operator role with this company called Prodigal, which was a conversational AI startup backed by Axel and Menlo. So I joined there as a founding product manager, helped scale the company from 0 to 3 and 3.5 million ARR over the course of 2 years. So we were basically building conversational AI products for call centers industry, especially in accounts receivables, consumer finance. So we used to sell to Citibank, Chase, and so they have like thousands of agents in the call center, and like we used to plug into the telephony, get all kinds of the recordings out, and like build out automated note taking tools for the call center agents, etc. So to improve the productivity. And this was like the pre GPT era, so AI was not really the AI we know today as well. So Pratik, that was broadly my journey along the way. I also did my MBA at Chicago Booth as well. Spent a couple of years in the US, and somewhere around last year after GPT launched Gush, where we're building like one of the largest outsourcing platforms in the world, and where AI becomes a big enabler, but we are also bringing in like managed workforce out of India, which can assure customers that kind of quality which you really need to drive impact for your business. So we started with SEO as a service. We are very soon launching Google Meta Ads as a service as well. But largely that's been my journey, Pratik.
That's awesome. Was there, was there like a pivotal moment growing up where you were like, you know what, one day I'm going to start something of my own?
No, not really. Actually, it was very interesting. Like, so I've always been a big believer. Like even today, like we have always worked back from the problem. And honestly, like I know there is a school of startup founders like who are like, I want to do something of my own, and then you start
Yeah.
building it. We have actually been the other way around. Like even 15 days before we started up, we did not actually know we wanted to start up. Honestly, like it was literally decided. Like me and my co-founder were in the trenches with my previous company. We're trying to figure out like different problems and very knee deep into like operations. And suddenly one day like GPT released November 30th, and like we were dabbling around with it for like first like 10-15 days, and then we realized like, hey, a lot of cool things will come out of this. And like as like it was still like not that popular. It was just starting to get the virality in
Yeah.
Twitter. And we started dabbling around with it, and we realized that if the 1.0 version looks like this, uh, imagine the kind of businesses that it can enable over time to run like at a much lower cost overlay as well. So that became the core thesis of why we started Gush, and like how the entire like genesis of the project started. But honestly, like I was always like it's like I had an entrepreneurial mindset, like where always wanted to try out new things. I would get bored very quickly with, like, if you kept giving me the same kind of job for a sustained period of time, I think. But yeah, there was no pivotal moment per se till GPD launched, candidly.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
Nayrhit, on Crunchbase, I saw that you'll raised a 2 million round last year.
sure. Yeah.
It's been such a tough funding environment. What were some of the things that y'all did to essentially ensure that this raise would eventually be successful?
I think it's a good question. It's a very yeah. In hindsight, I might say that it's a very certain process, but I think it's honestly, like, at the end of the day, it's a very probabilistic process, and it has very little to do with business quality. Also, I feel like, honestly, like, there are a lot of good businesses which can struggle to raise money at times, and there are a lot of bad businesses which might end up scoring around at
Yeah,
a good time as well. So I think there are a lot of levers which are unexplained when you're trying to raise capital, honestly, and you and most of it is outside your control. So all you can do is like maximize your odds by like pitching to as many people as possible. But maybe I'll just share a few things which we did, I think, right, at the hindsight, and some of them have also been learnings which we are implementing as we are trying to raise our next round as well. One was that always have a plan B. Like, don't think, especially if you're latched to the problem, like, don't be like, hey, I have to raise venture or
yeah,
my company will die. Like, it doesn't need to happen like in a binary way. It can be the case where you are raising capital. If you're not able to raise, the company still survives. You figure out your cash in a way that allows you to survive as well. So while, yeah, it's very tempting to think that, hey, I want to build this like next Uber or next Facebook and burn like crazy billions of dollars. Yes, some companies will emerge like that, but I mean, I'm sure like Facebook even had that plan B as well, if they had like a bad funding cycle as well. So I think that's where I would say one of the biggest things was I'll always have a plan B. Second learning was run a time bound process. Don't leave it hanging, and like don't leave it like a open ended long drawn process. We basically ran it like a 4 week process where we, the first week, we reached out to as many VCs as possible, and then like you start getting an initial feeler, right? You're getting the second level of conversation, you're getting the third level
oh,
of conversation. So if you're getting like at least the second, third level of conversations, that means there's some juice in this model and what you're pitching as well, especially if you're raising a pre-seed round where you don't really have a lot of traction as well. So typically, like, somewhere around the second week, if you do your outreach to 50, 100, 200 VCs in the first week, then by second week you're fairly aware, like, what's the level of interest you're getting. Are you getting the
yeah,
calls? Are you getting at least the eyeballs lit up, etc.
yeah,
And typically by the end of second week, you realize that whether the funding round is going to pan out or not. So by the third or fourth week is when you try to create this FOMO, where you try to push all the VCs over the fence, and most of them might say no, but all you need is one yes. So
yeah.
so you will end up realizing that there are two or three VCs which end up standing at the end of week 3, week 4. But make sure that you have the ability to walk out of it as well, if you really need to. So I think it has to be where you say that it has to be a 4 week process. If I am not able to raise in this 4 week, I'll come back to it 6 months later, and I'll figure out a way to run my business for the next 6 months, essentially. So I think that's where a lot of entrepreneurs like go wrong, where they think of like always be fundraising, but I don't
Yeah.
think it works like that. Where you need to have like a fundraising mode and then execution mode as well.
Yeah,
I think.
that's fair.
Yeah.
What's tough about running a venture funded business?
You know what the toughest things is, Prateek, that it's not about the amount of revenue you add after a point. It's about amount of revenue divided by revenue figure. So that, that's and maintaining that number is, I think, the hardest part of a venture business,
Yeah,
because if you're adding 150K ARR to your top line every month, uh, every VC will maybe pat you on the back. But if you're adding 150K ARR every month at a scale of 10 million ARR, then it's not a good number anymore. So I
yes,
think, Pratik, that's where it comes down to, where it's not about the absolute growth that you bring to the business. It's more about how do you bring that compounding growth and that exponential growth as well. So I think building a business is also hard. It has its own challenges, but generating the cash is also, it's a different beast. But building that compounding funnel is also a very different problem itself. So I think it was also very important to take that intentional call that what kind of business you want to build, because I think fundamentally there are a lot of trade-offs that are very different in both the businesses as well.
Yeah.
And I think the trade-offs that you have to go for with a venture funded business is something that you might as well like take an intentional call that you are in this for the next 5 to 10 years. So yeah, I think that's the hardest part, is like how do you maintain that absolute quanta of growth, because what you realize is marketing channels start capping out very quickly as well. So you might realize that what got you to 2 million ARR will not get you to 5 million ARR, will not get you to like 15 million ARR as well. So you need to like keep figuring out new GTM channels as well every 2-3 years, new product features, etc. So for the longest, like HubSpot, for instance, is a good example, right? Where they launched the marketing CRM, it started capping out in growth as well for 5-6 years till they
Sure.
launched the sales CRM as well,
Yeah.
which competed with Salesforce, right?
Yeah.
And then that shot their growth up. So you have to consistently keep innovating on the new ways to GTM or market yourself, and then continuously like innovate on product as well, which can sell faster, sell better as well than the previous products as well.
Yeah, that's fair. I'd love to get your take on hiring. Hiring at this stage, what I've always found is so tough.
Yeah.
Because I think people think that, hey, I'm going to join this startup and it's gonna be the next unicorn, decacorn, whatever the new terms are, and I'm going to cash out and I'll be done for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
That's so far from reality. So I'd love to
It is.
understand from you, right? I mean, as a hiring manager of a business that is growing so quickly, what are some of those qualities that you tend to look for in hires at this stage?
Yeah, good question, Prateek. And I would love to give you a silver bullet answer, but unfortunately, like it's a it gets a little bit more complex than that as well as we scale. And especially, I think what has happened is, especially if you're scaling a business which is growing at, let's say, 10, 15, 20% month over month, and you're trying to like almost accelerate the engine to a point where it grows from like a 1 to 10 in a course of like 1-2 years. Uh, I think fundamentally, even just not even a great hire can do a miserable job if they're not onboarded properly, because you are,
Sure.
let's face it, like you like multiple things are going to break in that journey, right? Because you're trying to accelerate it as fast as possible, and you don't really have the ability to provide that support system for employees, which a large corporate can give, to actually understand the organization, what do this also. Most of our hires are pretty much thrown into the problem from day one, and like if you like, we onboarded like 5 customer success managers, and most of them don't even know anything about SEO. So and they're like, and it's literally learning on the job, right? So I
Yeah.
think fundamentally, I think like I would say like obviously there's a lot of like specialization that you look for, but at the heart of it, I think there's this hunger to like do a little bit beyond my job
Yeah.
thing that you're trying to assess in every person that you hire, because in a startup, like nobody will come and tell you what your role is, right? Or what your job is. Like even if you might have a title, you might be thrown into a job, but there's no coaching resource there out there. Like we're still building our documentation, we're still building our SOPs, etc. So you have to figure out these things. It's not that we don't know how to do it, it's
Yeah.
just that nobody has documented it and figured out a way to propagate it across that organization as well. So you have to come and ask, and you have to have that proactivity in yourself. So if you are that person where you join and expect somebody to come and give you some manager to give you some work to do, and like you do it through the day, I think that's not the talent that you look for. And unfortunately, whenever you're trying to hire for a startup, I think that is the talent that is the biggest false positive in your pipeline as well, where
I see that.
you have a well, yeah, and what I call as like reactive talent versus proactive talent. So the people who are basically who work only on what you ask them to do, versus people who are basically coming up with their own initiatives as well. So if they have blocked anywhere, they would go ahead and actually ask you till they're unblocked and keep following up with you till they're unblocked as well. I think that is the hunger that we look for in every employee. Obviously, there is a fundamental skill set that you need as a sales rep,
Yeah.
or you find, yeah, obviously that is important, but that underlying hunger is super critical as well in early
Yeah.
stages as well.
So that said, I mean, like during your interview process, what are some of the things that y'all have done to ensure that y'all are actually getting the hungry people?
Yeah, so one of the very interesting things that we did last year itself, introduced this, and for most of our key hires, is what we call uh, uh, work trials. So we do a
Okay.
paid work trial as well with our hires. So let's say we hired somebody for our newsletters and case studies right now. So what we ended up doing was, when I liked her, when my marketer liked her, and when she was about to be onboarded, we actually asked her to do like a 15-day like paid work trial with us, where we actually paid her for the time as well. So instead of like getting somebody and like firing them, or having like a probationary period, we just let them work in their current job itself, and say that, hey, can you carve out like maybe 20 hours this week, or even like 5 hours this week, figure out a project with them. We asked her to like launch a newsletter, like and draft up like the first newsletter, and we paid her for it as well. So I think that really tells you how this person is in that job with you,
That's fair.
and are they able to gel with. So this is something that we found very interesting as well. And the amount of information you gain by doing a work trial from an interview is significantly higher as well. And in fact, Pratik, for sales as well, we
Yeah.
did something like this, where actually I got the person I liked, and like I actually got asked him to like jump on a discovery call with me, like literally like 30 minutes after I liked him in the interview, and asked him to observe one, and actually be asked him to pitch to the next
Oh,
customer what I
wow.
sold, yeah, as well. So we and yeah, he bombed the pitch, but that's fine. Like I think, but we got a good hire out of it as well. So something like this is what I like to do, where like put them in the job and see how they're doing,
Yeah.
like compensate for the time if they need to be, but yeah, largely like see if they're thriving in that ambiguity that your startup comes with as well,
Yeah.
basically.
That's fair. Nayrhit,
Yeah.
I am fascinated by your take on having a productized service business. Firstly, what does a productized service business really mean?
Uh, Very interesting, Pratik. So traditionally we have had like software as a service, right?
Yeah.
Where you would like software is a fairly rigid thing. Its ability to handle customizations and edge cases is very low typically. Usually you try to put a human on top of it. Either that can be your own understanding of the software, or some expert who is using the software to derive the business value out of it. So Salesforce itself will not come and tell you that I'll drive the business outcome for you, right? Or HubSpot will not say that I'll increase your Instagram followers. So you need to put a team together on top of it,
Yeah.
which allows you to do that, use extract the business value out of it essentially. Uh, and traditionally, on the other spectrum, you have these like really high value creative services agencies, which are less in number, but the ones which are really good really work charms for the business as well. And your Ogilvy's, Dentsu's, WPP's of the world are in this category as well,
Yeah.
but they charge a big premium for what they do as well, and usually end up like customizing the strategy for every customer, and like building a white glove strategy. What we understood is, most of these traditional services businesses, uh, because of the fact that they want to customize each and every lever within the business, to suit an enterprise customer, they get very expensive, because you need like human hours put in, like for every decision making engine as well. So because they're expensive, so access to high quality agencies for SMBs and mid market customers is super hard, where
That's
they
for sure.
it's usually hard for SMB and mid market customers to pay anybody a retainer like 5, 10, $15,000 for a
Yeah.
like period of time, right? So that's where we realized that if we cut out all the frills from the traditional services business, productize like 70 to 80% of the business as much as possible, using AI, using automation, using workflows, uh, and then on top of it, like you add a human in the loop, which is following pretty much a lot of SOPs and productization. There are certain levers of customization still available. You're not
Yeah.
as white glove as a traditional agency, but the advantage comes that you're able to offer a very high value for money for SMBs mid market. So you suddenly like are able to take this very high end services business strategies and able to democratize it to a much larger market, as such. So that is essentially, Pratik, what our stance is, that today with the business owner who is not able to afford high quality services agencies, uh, or is like flooded with all these shammy agencies out there in the market, alternatively you go to a Fiverr or an Upwork, which are usually designed for like very short term tactical tasks, not really like long term outsourcing. So the goal is that, can we productize the services business to that extent where it becomes very, very high value for the customers, and the experience is like you put up your credit card, you watch your traffic grow, and you put up your
Yeah.
credit card, watch your leads grow. I think that is the pitch to our customers as well, Pratik.
That's amazing. So that said, though, as a service business owner, how should how should they think about productizing their service?
Very, very good question, Pratik. So I think I would divide it into like three types of services businesses, right? So, or three levels rather. Uh,
Okay.
the 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 level one is where you operate a services business. You start seeing some traction. You hire some people to manage the business, and like you set up SOPs for them, and try to like you have like a good Notion doc, you have good Slack documents, and you try to get these people. But you will realize that after 3 5 million 6 million ARR, it gets harder to scale this model because you consistently need to hire people and then like train them on it. Then comes a model where you're slightly more tech forward. So you have figured out Zapier, you have figured out like some level of automation, you have figured out like how to like have at least the sales calls automated, sales notes automated, this onboarding automated, stuff like that is what you have figured out. And there's like some degree of tech that you can build. Maybe you have built an app out there to service your customers. Maybe you have
Sure.
figured out or bought an app to like service your customers as well. So that is the second level. The third level is where you package a service to an extent where it starts feeling a product. And to give you an example, Uber and Amazon are good examples where a services business fundamentally is scaled to a point where it starts feeling that you're consuming a product at the end of the day, right? So Amazon is fundamentally logistics services businesses, and Uber is a car rental services businesses, right? But the DNA of the founders and the entrepreneurs is such that they want to make it available to a billion users, and the way to do that is like fundamentally a different way of thinking about services business where the reliability is so high and the replicability is so high that it starts feeling like that you're consuming a product every single time. And good examples of this is your DoorDash, Instacart,
Yeah.
Amazon, Uber. All of these are basically at the heart of it a services business which has been productized to an extent where you can like cater to like billions of users as well.
Yeah. That's awesome. On your
Yeah.
website, you say get revenue generating traffic with AI assisted SEO.
Yeah.
What's the problem that you're solving and for whom?
Yeah, Pratik. So I think there are a lot of small and medium businesses. So we predominantly work with like B2B services, B2B software companies, consumer services companies, B2B services companies such as yourself, hiring companies which help other companies like hire people, find people, EOR companies, GCC centers, web development agencies. They're all our customers typically. So what we've realized, Pratik, is a lot of founders who are great at servicing their customers and a lot of business owners in this segment. Uh, are not able to figure out great GTM channels or GTM strategies, or at least it's not that they can't do it, they just don't have the time to do it essentially. So typically we stand for them essentially, Pratik. So
Okay.
the goal is that how do we like help these small and medium businesses who own a good quality product or service, but they want their voices to be heard across more people. They want more eyeballs to the business, they want more converting eyeballs to the business as well. SEO is where we have started, where you the first goal is like, and when we realize that this is a big challenge where somebody's put up a nice website, but there's nobody coming to the website
Yeah.
essentially. So we figured out this problem where like how do we create that content, how do we create those landing pages, backlinks to get you that traffic that you really need. The level up from here for us is like how do we drive MQLs from this as well, and which is what we're building a stack for as well right now, Pratik, where we've solved for traffic across like now close to 150 to 200 odd businesses. The goal for
Amazing.
us here on is so the goal from here is like how do we like figure out how to convert this traffic that we're getting for our customers as well to paying customers. So that's where we stand for, Pratik, right now. And candidly, like when we drive traffic also, it's not just traffic for the sake of it. We try to get you very relevant traffic as well, like the ICP who actually wants your product. And what we've usually seen is if your product is a fit, typically you don't even need a lot of conversion levers typically. So once you get the traffic, they usually pick up the products as well. So the question is that how do you get the right traffic either for to educate them or to sell something to them, etc. Is the problem that we're solving.
That's awesome. So that said, that you said you have about 150 to like 200 customers already.
Yeah.
What are some of the ways in which you are able to win so many customers so quickly? So what are those like inbound levers that you all are pulling? What's the outbound tactics? Like what's really working today for you?
Yeah, so we were a fairly contrarian bet in that regard, Prateek. So most venture funded for companies like go with like a performance marketing, paid Meta, paid Google as the channel to begin with, or Outbound as a channel.
Yeah.
We actually went after like a founder led branding kind of motion. So I started posting on LinkedIn and Twitter for a consistent period of time. I still do it as well. And what we realized is initially when we started, the channel was cold, LinkedIn especially. But once we started doing it, we started getting like a hang of it. Like what does LinkedIn like? What can educate the users on LinkedIn? What are the users on LinkedIn? What was the community on LinkedIn looking for as well? Uh, and over time, what we realized is that month one, when we did it like 9 months back, LinkedIn was adding about maybe 5K, 10K MRR in the pipeline for us.
Wow.
And now it's sorry 5K 10K ARR in the pipeline for us, and now it's adding about 250K to 300K ARR in the pipeline for us, just LinkedIn posting
Wow.
itself. Yeah, and that's how it's compounded for us, Prateek, as well. So and right now we do about 12 to 15 posts per month. And we're pretty much like divided into like posts we do to nurture our community, engage with the community, posts that we do for like converting the community, and posts we do to increase the size of the community as well. So reach, nurture, and engage. Reach, nurture, and convert is how we like to think about the content strategy on LinkedIn and Twitter.
Wow. So, as an AI first business, I have to ask, how much of that is written by you? How much of that is written by AI?
Uh, no, actually, very interestingly, most of LinkedIn is completely human, honestly. Like because you start getting a hang of it,
Yeah.
and I think while you can do that for, I think, Instagram, you can still use a lot of AI for SEO. You can still use a lot of AI for repurposing the content from LinkedIn to Twitter. But I think the fundamental reason why content works is the idea,
Yeah.
which is very novel itself. And those are honestly like Pratik, I might talk about like the podcast that we did today, right? And AI can never get that insight. And I know that this kind of like content will actually do well on LinkedIn as well. The one that I posted today was about like taking a screenshot of a Stripe transfer coming to my Mercury account. Like, I got a $6,000 like remittance from a customer, and then it was a dopamine hit, right? So I just posted on LinkedIn that these dopamine hits, like always for a business owner, like when you get that money in your account, it's always like that dopamine hit that you get. Like these kinds of posts typically are not possible with AI, honestly. These are the ones that actually drive engagements and the community as well, Pradeep. Yeah.
Yeah. That's for sure. So, so you touched upon founder-led branding, and I
Yeah.
think like in the last couple of months, if there's one thing that I've seen on LinkedIn is mainly about founder-led branding, and I think they have a few folks who like do it exceptionally well. I think the folks from Retention, Pavilion, I think
Yeah.
they do it exceptionally well. Why do you think most companies aren't taking this approach?
Uh, Very good question. I think a couple of reasons. One, I feel just precedents. The number of precedents have been less. It's a relatively new channel. It's still evolving, but
Yeah.
I'm seeing increasingly people do it a lot more. Like several founders have reached out to me over the last 3 4 months, like how to build this channel into a GTM strategy. I think second is consistency. Candidly, like
Yeah.
most organic channels, and more than consistency is consistency without instant gratification.
Yeah.
And Pratik, you might resonate this with this as well, right? Typically, when you start a company, you're waiting for that viral moment to happen, and you believe that all kinds of marketing and all kinds of growth is basically that one tweet going viral, or like one product and launch going like really well. But what you don't realize is for that one viral tweet, you need like 100 more tweets which are not gone viral as well. So
Yeah.
I think that is what people trivialize, where they would try like 3 posts and then they would be like, "Why is LinkedIn not working for it?"
Yes,
But
I see
it
that.
never it never almost works like that, right? So you have to
Yeah.
consistently keep doing it. There are bad months also. There are bad posts also which do like very low on engagement. But you need to get through those, like, and if you start doing it on like, I think LinkedIn is still a lot more forgiving than other channels. But because even if you do a bad post, there will be some nobody who will come and like your post, and you will get like 20 25 likes. But if you do it on Twitter, like nobody really like engages. Like Twitter is either you go like you have like 1,000 plus impressions and like you have like a multiple retweets, etc., or you have nothing. So Twitter is like a bit of a polarizing approach, candidly. So trying to understand like Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, all of these channels, like, and running them coherently as well. I think one person who has done it really well is, I believe, Neil Patel has like killed it at like all three channels at the same time. But I feel like that's not a like a it needs like a 15-20 member content team to like run that like that beast of a machine as well. But yeah, Pratik, I think the biggest reason is people don't know how to do it yet. People don't have that consistency yet, because they don't know what's coming, right? Not every market might have that LinkedIn GTM motion. Like if you're selling something very niche, it might not have that motion
Yeah,
either.
that's for sure.
Yeah,
That is for
yeah,
sure. I mean, like you spoke about growth happening through founder-led branding.
yeah,
Um, and I could be completely off, but I think it may have certain limitations.
sure.
Do you feel that you might ever be building out a pure play outbound sales team, or do you think that the founder-led branding, along with your SEO effort, that essentially will drive inbound, will be the way to move forward for your business?
No, no, definitely not. I think we need outbound for sure. And when I say outbound, I've never been like a big fan of like carpet bombing accounts.
Yeah,
Can really like cold outbound.
yeah,
Honestly, like it's always been either like a very thoughtful account based marketing strategy where we genuinely feel like these set of accounts are the places where SEO can drive a lot of
yeah,
value and a lot of leads. So we identify those accounts and like go after them in a very thoughtful way as well, and try to reach out to the right persona. And usually, like I've also been not been like super salesy with our motions either. Like I feel like the real salespeople actually don't do a lot of sales. Like they actually do a lot of good discovery,
yes,
and some of the best sales reps I've seen typically like will make the sale happen just through the discovery questions itself. Like
yeah.
they would ask the questions in a way which makes you feel like, oh, I should have this thing itself. So I feel, Pratik, like the way I think about the outbound process is two parts to it. One is and which is where I will reach out to you as well for more fun on that as well. But one Pratik, I feel there is that account based marketing which is truly cold, where you have not engaged with the account, and but you have identified a universe of, let's say, 1,000 accounts you want to go after, or 5,000 accounts you want to go after, and you then start showing them like a LinkedIn campaign, a marketing campaign across Meta, LinkedIn, etc., and then you start doing an outreach program for them as well. Is one part of outbound which I feel. And then there is a part which is intent led outbound, where the
So
customer has engaged with either your Google ads or visited your website and dropped their information or downloaded something. It's less salesy. It's more like, hey, you I saw you downloaded this. We find that interesting. We'd love to get on a call. So I think that kind of outbound is what I am a big believer of. I don't believe in like pure brute force cold outbound, but I know that also has worked for a lot of people as well. Where but I think that with AI SDRs and like products like automated
yeah,
like emailing, I think that's kind of becoming a bit of a commodity, I feel, and stopped working. But it's that human genuinely like sending out a thoughtful email will work much better, and a thoughtful personalized like 30 emails sent out is much better than a mass personalized 3,000 emails sent out as well.
yeah,
Yeah,
that is for sure. So that said, though, right? I mean, you've been building the business for a while. You've of course tried different tactics that are working. I'm sure there have been a lot that haven't worked. What is the scrappiest story you have while building the business?
yeah. Look, I think we are in this bucket of like holy grail of venture untouchable assets, where we are SMB, we are marketing, we are services. So
Yeah,
these are the buckets which which a venture never touches, by the way. And despite that, we are saying that we are a venture investable asset, and we are trying to grow like 15-20% month on month. So we are not a pure SaaS play. We are not going after enterprise accounts, and so that's where I feel services marketing, uh, SMB focused plays, where we feel the real gap is, and which we want to solve at scale. Pratik, it has resulted in a lot of crappy stories with a lot of VCs, candidly. Like I enjoy my conversations. I would have a great day with customers, etc. But then like when you talk to the VCs, like we have been rejected by a lot of VCs. Like fortunately, like there are some good VCs which have decided to partner with us. Uh, but uh, uh, but yeah, like we are not like very well respected in the VC community. We're respected by our customers. So yeah, there have been cases where we have like pitched, and then like nobody, literally, like everybody, all the entire partnership was like just looking at me like, "Are you an SEO agency like trying to raise money?" Like, and I'm like, "Yeah." So yeah, I talked a lot about AI, intent, content, and stuff like that, like how marketing is becoming more algorithmic, SMBs need us, etc. And then at the end of the conversation, they're like, "So at the heart of it, are you like a cheaper SEO agency?" And I was like, "Okay, if that's how you want to like bucket me, then maybe yes." So yeah, those are kind of like. I think especially with investor community, I'm not like judging them or anything. I think it's they have their own role to play in the ecosystem as well, and a very important role. But often like in the early days, it's hard to understand what the company is going to be built into, right? So everybody tries to associate you in a category that they might have seen, or like tries to draw some like analogies with companies that they have seen in the past, and if absent that, they think that it's not a investable asset as such. So I think that the hardest part is typically in venture capital also, like typically the job is to find the outliers, but human brains are always like trained to like find patterns.
Yeah.
So the job is actually the other way around, where you're trying to find the outlier businesses as well, right? So that's when I think some of my crappiest experiences have been in the investor rooms, where I have not been able to like articulate the business very well to the investors, and they have gone with a very different understanding of what we are actually building as well. So I think, yeah, that's where I would be at, Pradeep. Yeah.
What, as founders, I think there's just so much advice out there, and everyone has an opinion. What is the one biggest piece of BS advice that you've ever heard?
I would have to go back to the VCs again. For this, Prateek. And maybe this is just me talking out of a long drawn fundraise cycle. And but no, I think yeah, one of them was like, I was just starting out, right? And so literally like 2 months into it, like we are literally getting incorporated, and like we didn't even know what we wanted to build, and we knew we'll do something where to do with like offshoring, like and AI, and like bringing it together, but we didn't really know what we wanted to build. And we got reached out by this really large VC, and this I said like, look, we are very early in our journey. We don't like, why are you even talking to us right now? And he's kept insisting that, "Hey, I want to talk and I want to understand what you do." So we took the time to like walk him through that whatever vague vision we had in our minds. And by the end of this conversation, he's like, "You should. Are you sure you're building like a services business? Because how would the public markets value you 10 years out? What would the multiple this would trade on?"
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm figuring out how to survive this year. I don't know how the public markets will value me like 10 years down the line as well. So I think that was the crappiest advice, in my opinion, where I don't even know how will I keep the lights on for this year. I think, and somebody's asking me to think like 10 years out it's kind of funny. But yeah. Yeah.
I see that. The one thing that is not really spoken out loud is about managing mental health. As a founder, I know for a fact that I personally struggle. There is nothing called work-life balance. I think
Yeah.
it's work-life. Perhaps integration. I mean, I'm still, of course, figuring that
Yeah.
out. But from your perspective, how do you manage your mental health as you are building what will hopefully become one of the biggest, if not the biggest businesses out there?
uh, Yeah, Pratik, I think it's definitely quite underestimated, or till it actually starts pinching you. Candidly, like I think people, founders, including myself, I've been guilty of it as well, where you not just mental well health, even physical health. I think you ignore a lot of it when you, especially if you are like this the age group of like 20s, early 20s, you can like pull an all-nighter and still like go through the entire day as well. But as you start like spending the years at it, and you start realizing it starts taking a toll. But yeah, if you look at like most of the high performing entrepreneurs today as well, like everybody like made health a big priority to like continue functioning at that level at the age of like 50, 60 as well. uh, so I think the importance is there, but the awareness is quite low, candidly,
Yeah.
and I've been speaking with some entrepreneurs with it. for them, like the best way to resolve a mental wellness issue is having like a good co-founder or a good partner at home, who they like exchange their ideas or thoughts and frustrations or stresses with. uh, but I feel that's not enough. And it's not even like binary. I don't feel like it's that you're depressed or you have like symptom, etc. I feel it's more like you're, as you're scaling a company, you're almost reinventing yourself in a matter of a few months, almost as a person itself. Like if I go back to my corporate days at Amex, uh, you started with as an analyst, you became a manager over 2 years, then you became a director, then you became like a VP. So by the time you had like 100 people, you're already spent like 15 years in the system, right? In a startup, I'm already like managing like 150 people in a matter of like 9 months. So I think that requires you to go through that journey in a course of like 9 to 18, 24 months, which itself means that you can't be reactive anymore. You have to weigh your words before it comes out of your mouth.
Yeah.
Irreversible decisions have to be thoughtfully taken as well. So you can't be that person who just goes and solves the problem. You have to set up a process to solve that problem, essentially. So I think you can't scold people anymore, because scolding doesn't scale. You have to figure
Yeah.
out a process to so I think when you're making those fundamental behavioral changes and very intentionally trying to make those changes about yourself, it might have repercussions in your personal relationships in your life. It might have repercussions in your other equations in your life as well, because the other people also have to be accommodative with your changes as well
Yes.
in your life, your family, your parents, etc.
Yeah.
I think that is where I feel mental wellness, mental health focus really helps. For me, at least at this point, I have not been seeking anything professional yet, but I have been considering and talking to a lot of other founders who have gone through this stage and like reached maybe a certain level of success in their life, and they are all recommending me to get some professional help as well, to make sure that uh, I can compartmentalize well. I understand what needs to be done, and candidly, like also all the changes that I'm making about myself are the known knowns, known problems that I know, right? But there are a lot of unknown problems that I might be doing right now, and there's honestly like nobody gives the feedback to the boss, I feel. So I think, and I feel like whatever people might say that it's a flat hierarchy, like everybody's candid and everything, but
Yeah.
I think there's some level of filter that people have at the cards up. They wouldn't be completely candid, and that is the one thing that you need most as a founder, where like how can somebody give you like candid feedback? Neither an investor will be completely honest with you, neither an employee will be completely honest with you, neither a customer will be completely honest with you, right? They will try to sugarcoat it in some ways. If somebody's kind enough, they would actually be rude on your face and like tell you what the problem is as well. So Pratik, I feel absent that feedback loop and absent that guidance, uh, uh, either a coach or a mindfulness coach or some sort of a program that works for you is going to be super critical, especially if you're trying to engineer a personality change very quickly in yourself
I see
in
that.
a short period of time. So yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Nayrhit, you are one of the few founders, who like blatantly say what your goals are, going from $1 to $10 million. It is just so cool to see. This has just been such a fun conversation, and I know personally I have learned so much from you in this time. What's next for you? What's next for the business?
No, very exciting. So a couple of things we're areas where we're expanding very rapidly. So along with SEO as a service, we are planning to launch organic social media management as a service as well, and then Google Ads and Meta Ads as a service as well. So Pratik, probably you will need some help with Instagram and YouTube as well. So
Right
so
here, my
that's
friend.
exactly. So I think service category is something that we are expanding on. And then we're also thinking about deepening our software layer as well. So right now we have already a software which integrates with SEMrush, automates a lot of workflows, and we have performance tracking. So we are thinking of building some integrations with HubSpot, some integrations with Segment. That you don't need the entire Segment like $20,000 annual product, but you might need like some level of features which Segment offers to you, a CDP offers to you, a CMS offers to you, or a CRM offers to you. So we're trying to take the best of some of these features which are Clearbit, Clay, HubSpot, etc. have, and put it into our product and offer it free for our customers. Essentially, is how we are thinking about it, Pratik. So we just don't want to be completely just where we provide SEO services, but also want to build out the data layer where you can store your leads, interact with the leads, reach out to the leads, etc. So we'll increasingly start seeing a lot of those features come in as well on the product stack for us. So,
Very, very cool. How can folks
yeah.
keep up with you?
No, they can follow me on LinkedIn and connect with me on LinkedIn as well, Prateek. And I have a big believer of build in public, state out whatever you are doing. Acknowledge your failures in public, successes even more so in public. So I think that energizes everybody who's reading the post as well. And honestly, like the I would recommend all the founders to do some level of build in public, even if you're not able to do it consistently, because you would be surprised how people reach out to help you and let's start rooting for you as well.
Yeah.
And I've like rekindled a lot of old relationships because of this, where I never expected help from, and people have like reached out to help you. And especially if you're in a competitive market, and if you do a build in public motion, you start looking bigger than you are, so your competitors get a little bit more
That's
scared
true.
as well. So yeah, so I think that's where that's been my take. But they can follow me on LinkedIn and like connect with me or like, message me on LinkedIn as well.
Awesome. Nayrhit, thank you so much once again for your time today. This has been amazing.
Thank you so much, Prateek. Thank you so much for hosting me. Thank you.
Awesome.